Morning, everybody, and welcome to CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini.
My name is Joe Asamendi.
And still Joe Asamendi.
Yes, it is.
It's
Absolutely.
good to see you.
Good to see you, Al.
And we have a terrific guest today. His name is Robert Hackman. And Robert has started a company called 4C Consulting.
Yes,
Nice
that's
to see you,
correct.
Robert.
Hey, good to
He
see
is
you.
the principal in the firm. It's good to have you on the program. Okay, 4C's: courageous, curious, coaching, and consulting.
4C's: courageously curious, consulting and coaching.
Consulting and coaching.
Okay.
Unpack that for us. What do those 4C's mean?
Yeah, so there's business leaders, business owners. It takes a lot of courage to take that on. It takes courage to initiate change in an organization. It takes courage to change yourself, and it takes courage to ask for help.
Well, and curious though. I mean, see, courageous is something I think CEOs are familiar with.
Sure.
Curious though. I mean, what is it that makes the difference there?
Well, and it's courageously curious. So it's asking questions with a level of candor and a level of trust and so forth that has an impact for companies. And it's requesting and looking for clients to go places that they wouldn't go on their own. So it's courageously curious. And then the consulting and coaching are very different practices. And I will work them in the same, they can be together in an engagement where you're consulting, which is typically an assignment that's people are looking to achieve something and they're looking for my expertise or expertise of the people that I work with. So I'm pulling arrows out of the quiver and so forth to address that. And it tends to be project focused, and coaching is a different process that's focused on really a relationship and performance and development. And again, they can be standalone or they can go together.
Oh, great. Now we're getting you from, by way of an introduction, through Jan Stefanski. I don't know whether you remember, Joe, but Jan was a guest on the program a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Terrific guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He made a point of saying you got to meet Robert Hackman.
Right.
So thank you, Jan, for that introduction.
Yeah, and he's a colleague. I mean,
and one of the people that you might call on, in fact, depending
Correct.
on the nature of a problem a client might have. So let's talk about that. The people that watch our program are CEOs of companies, founders of companies, also managers of departments within companies. And when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, you mentioned that you were a strategic marketing and selling consultant. That's one of the sweet spots you operate in?
Yep.
But what I really want to do is try to identify for our audience the nature of the pain they might be feeling and how you might address that. So what's the biggest problem people call you?
Yeah, so there are three main reasons that people would bring me in. Either their sales are declining and they're not sure how to fix it, or their sales are uneven and they can't rely on their revenue streams, and that's problematic. You can't plan your business when you can't rely on that. Or the third main issue is they've gotten to a certain level and maybe they'll bump up a little bit and then they come right back down because there are more substantial changes that are needed in order for them to get to the next level.
No, and so that would be when I'd call you in. And I know just in my day-to-day, an awful lot of people who work in mature companies that have been around for a while, and they might have reached a point where now they have a pretty steady stream of income coming from that, but the rate of growth of the company is pretty much the rate at which they raise their prices. No better than, in other words, their markets aren't growing, or their share of the market isn't growing. So I would call you in then in a situation like that to have you come in and evaluate for me what I need to do to ramp the sales back up again.
Yeah, there are many ways to go about it. There are two main ways. One is, I would come in and do an assessment and provide them with a report that would be an insight to action. This is where you're creating a baseline. It's really important to get a baseline so that people remember the changes that occur. And then another would be just, give me your sales data. And I'll analyze it and break it down and reconfigure it and give you some visibility on your business that you don't have. And I'm amazed at, you mentioned mature businesses, that they don't have good data. And I don't know how you can operate effectively. And to your point, if you're just kind of, even though the fastest way to grow is selling more of the same to the same, you can't rely on that. You need to be generating new clients as well. So and the next way to do that is you sell the same to somebody new. Typically the third is, you're selling something existing, or you're selling a new product to somebody new, and then the hardest and most difficult is you're selling new to new.
Okay. What size companies do you typically work with?
Typically companies from 20 million to a couple hundred million. That's on the consulting side, and it's probably on the 20 to 100 million consulting is the primary focus, and then coaching. And I'm coaching a work stream for a $5.5 billion company through a major change initiative. That's a little bit of an oddity for me, but coaching, the size doesn't matter.
Okay, so actually what we're talking about then are two sides of your business. One side is aimed at changing other people's behavior, that's the coaching side of things. And the other side is aimed at trying to really understand what it is that needs to change inside this company to affect the bottom or top line, which is sort of the consulting end of things. You do both.
Yes, it's really growth and development is handled through strategic consulting to organizations to help them grow, and then as far as individuals and teams, that's handled through coaching.
Okay, that's great. A little later on, you're going to get to look in your camera and tell everybody how to reach you. And,
Sure.
But just in talking to you now, it becomes obvious to me that there are people out there who are running small and medium-sized businesses that may be wondering what it is they need to do next to move off the beach and inland so that they can start actually gaining some traction. You sound like you'd be a great guy to call in for that.
Yeah, and the tagline is better alignment, better results, and that really works for organizations. That sales and marketing are kind of here, and really in an ideal consulting engagement for me, I would be kind of working back upstream and foundational alignment, getting the real fundamentals of a business right, because it's a question of what are you selling, what are you marketing, and it's that's comprised of what is your overarching go-to-market strategy, what are your core values, and what's your aspirational purpose. And in a Venn diagram where those are overlapping, it's that center is your power center, and they become your glasses or your lens to look at new business opportunities and opportunities for growth and things like that.
How long is a typical
Engagement
with you? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I would say I'm working on something now that's, some of it depends on the availability of the people to work with what we're doing, but it's 4 to 5 months, and I would expect if I'm doing my job right, which I expect to do, that will likely be extended. Okay. And then coaching engagements can be 6 months to anything longer than that.
Okay.
You were talking a little bit about alignment, and I know that inside a company, sometimes the sales department and the marketing department are not really communicating all that constructively with each other. That's often part of the problem. So breaking down silos inside companies is also part of what you do as a consultant, I guess. Yeah,
it's the connective tissue. I mean, I'm working across, similar to Jan actually, working across departments and so forth, and people will say to me, geez, I thought maybe coaching or consulting or one or the other would make sense, and to me it all kind of goes together. It's an integrated piece, and once you get this foundational element, then you're looking at everything in your organization, and you're saying what's aligned or what's misaligned, and there's never perfect alignment. You guys know this. Right. You've run businesses, Al, for a long time.
Right.
And if you want to be good, if you want to grow, being in alignment really is the ticket to doing that.
That's kind of key.
It's essential.
Yeah, and you really also made a great point. You really can't manage what you don't measure. It's an old quote from somewhere else, but so measurement and gathering data is an important part of that. And you mentioned that the first step of your work is an assessment. Maybe you can kind of walk us through what that is like. What kind of questions do you ask? Who do you typically talk to in a company when you get started?
Yeah, so a kind of a perfect engagement for me is something that I'm working on where a company has a variety of revenue streams, and it's a question of, geez, we're not quite sure how to go to the market. They seem to have this diverse thing, so it's a variety of questions that get at the core of who they are and what they're looking to do in the market. What are the commonalities? Again, I think a lot in just kind of Venn diagrams. What's the overlap? What's working for you? How are you going to market now? And getting an identity and figuring out how to message that, whether it's a tagline, and getting it, assessing your people, how you're going about things. That's one piece. Then another piece was, the guy says, the CEO says, I'm committed to 10 to 15% growth. How are we going to achieve that? Now it's moving from that core fundamental to figuring out how it flows down through through your sales process, through your sales organization. Who do you have? How are you going about it? Same thing with the marketing, and then to what degree are they aligned? I'm amazed. Sales and marketing, the target, the goal for them is very similar, And at the same time, it's very rare that they're in the same room together and that they're strategizing together. And so that would be a second piece. And then the third piece is he's saying, look, you know, we don't believe we're structured properly, and we're going to be 50% larger in 3 years. I know we need to move things differently. So it's a question of what do we need to do with our people, what do we need to do organizationally and so forth, and what's it look like going forward.
Good.
And the people assessment is an important component of that. You know, that because you need the data points on the people that you have so that you can identify gaps and figure out what's the right fit for the people that you're bringing in.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're going to have to take a break.
Sure.
More with Robert Hackman on how to build a stronger, more powerful business by being courageous and curious.
Yes.
More with Robert Hackman after these messages on CEO Chat.
Stick around.
Feel and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Welcome back, everybody, to CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini.
I'm still Joe Asamendi.
You better be. And we're talking to Robert Hackman.
Hey, Robert.
We're talking about the value of being courageous and curious in climbing the mountain of your business. And we'll get back to that mountain climbing thing a little. I told you we'd get back to that.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to explore, first of all, Robert, is the people at the companies that you serve. Who typically calls you? Is that the CEO who calls you in first?
Yeah, it would be a business owner is typically who I'm working with and who's bringing me in.
Okay, and whoever that is, he or she will articulate to you what they believe their problem is, but your job is to find out if that's actually their problem, because I know that's part of what you do as a consultant.
Yeah, and frequently it's not, you know, what they describe the problem is really not kind of the root cause, and that's part of the approach. And asking quality questions is really a big piece of consulting, and oftentimes it's the naive questions, you know, that people have walked past, you know, that they thought they've already answered, then you come back to it and you say, geez, have you really answered it?
So pulling all those elements together in a company is part of what you do, is making sure that you're talking to everybody who may not actually be talking to each other.
Yeah, you're trying to figure it out. I mean, one of the primary questions you were asking me the questions I asked, what's your primary strategy? And I'm surprised at how many business owners don't really know the answer to that question. They'll say, well, we're quality, or we're this, or something like that, and that's really not a strategy. One of the models that I would typically use would be the discipline of market leaders, which says, you know, you need to be the innovator, so you're like an Apple. You need to be operational excellence, where you're operating like a, it's your cost efficiency and so forth, like a Walmart, and then customer intimacy, where you know your customers better than anybody else, and you're really integrated. And that has a profound impact if once you, rather than straddling a strategy, choosing a strategy really moves you forward with how you go about your decision making and how you build your business.
Have you worked with service companies and manufacturing companies?
Sure, and a lot of companies that do both. You know, they run a manufacturing component, and then they're also distributors. You know, one of the things that I offer to manufacturers is I know the distribution channel. So, you know, that's some of what I bring to the table.
How about family businesses? You do a lot of that business?
Yeah, you know, I don't think I started out this way, but I have only worked for family businesses.
Oh.
So I worked for 4 businesses, all in the wholesale distribution or manufacturing space. And I think the best role I had was running sales and marketing for a manufacturing company, and had a lot of freedom doing it and so forth, and we made a bunch of change, and I'm very confident that what was laid in place lasted long after I left, so I feel really good about that.
Good legacy.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So you take a third generation or a second generation in a family-owned business and you kind of remind them what it was the business was created for and get the family back working with that. I think that's
You know, and that is very true, right?
Yeah.
Either you can help them create a strategy, or sometimes, Al, it's getting them. You know, look, if the 3 of us were starting a business, we know what we're about, and communication is really easy. All I do is reach across and say something to you or whatever. You have a quick huddle or something like that, and then organizations, all of a sudden you're 50, 200, 400, 600 people, and communications and the demands are very different. And how you communicate that your values and your strategy to your company and to your teams is a different setup.
And that reminding people of that
and remembering
bringing
it.
people back to that is a big part of what you do. How did you learn to do this?
You know, well, so I mean, I was a marketing major at Drexel, and then I was in a family business working, and I had an opportunity to go back to school and went to the organizational dynamics program, which is an organizational development program at Penn. So that kind of gave me, I would consider that a liberal arts approach to business, and really gave me a lot of tools to look at things on an organizational basis. And then I added to that, put myself through the Coaches Training Institute, which is a highly regarded coaching program, and have just a massive reader and so forth, and talking to people. And you learn a ton being in a bunch of businesses. And any consultant will tell you, as soon as you walk into a business, you immediately have a different level of clarity than the people working in the business.
Sure.
And that's the same for me. I mean, if I were to go back into a business, you just get clouded by the trees and the everyday work and the whirlwind that you're involved in. And it can be extremely helpful and additive to bring somebody else in to add to your experience and your expertise in your
You got an
business.
objective look is what you do.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
It's just an interesting, and look, you know, I want to expand possibilities for clients and move them in directions that maybe they wouldn't have gotten on their own. But we're always working within the parameters that they set. You know, we're not doing something that's outside of.
You can't create a new line of product for them, although you may help them develop a new line of product that they know they need to create.
Yeah.
So you're not running their business for them. You're helping them run their business.
Yeah, new market development is a big thing. You know, in manufacturing, when I was in manufacturing, I was very mindful. You want to max out your production, and if you could make only one item and max that out, that's what you would do. And a piece of what I did was when I was there was figure out growth markets, and then figure out how to leverage those growth markets and how to utilize the same product, almost like the pharmaceutical industry. You know, they get a drug and it's for purpose for one, and then they repurpose it for a couple of other ailments or something like that. It's a highly effective way to go.
Good. Now, business to business mostly?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not talking about consumer brands. Typically, you're talking about people who are inside a supply chain, providing products to somebody else who's going to use them, or helping companies develop what they develop. I mean, that's business to business. What about 21st century marketing? What about people who might have a problem with Facebook and LinkedIn and all those things? I mean, do you get wrapped around the axle with any of that?
Yeah, I do, and I'm not. You know, I'm certainly I guess I was a fairly early adopter to LinkedIn and so forth. And I'm not I rely on my vendor partners for that. It's really trying to figure out how that fits into a company's strategy and how it fits into the values of what they're doing. And you need to be there. You know, and you can't just be there. You need to be active, and you need to be where your customers are, right? So what what channels they're using, the platforms that they're using. Part of how you show that you understand them and position your business as being of value to them is being where they are and providing relevant and compelling content.
Well, that's significant. So okay, I just want to wrap this all up. I mean, we're going to talk about climbing mountains again.
Yes.
But before we get to that, the people who are watching our program should call you if they're plateauing, they feel as though there's someplace they need to be and they just aren't quite sure how to get there themselves. They should give you a call, and I'm assuming the first conversation with you is at no charge to get to know each other?
Oh, sure.
Okay, a little later on you'll tell everybody how to call you, but a chief operating officer, a chief executive officer, those levels of C-suite management ought to give Robert Hackman a call if they feel as though there's a new level they want to get up to, they're just not quite sure how to get there on their own. So, but now that means you're helping them climb a mountain, and that gets us to the topic of climbing mountains. You like to hike mountains?
I do. And I primarily have climbed some in the west, but I primarily have climbed them in the east. Acadia is actually my favorite place on earth up in Maine. And the mountains aren't high, but they're very rocky and they're very vertical. And the payoffs are early and often.
Really?
You know,
Okay,
whether it's the ocean or the bay or other mountains and things like that, it's just a gorgeous spot. I
Well, the only
recommend it
mountain
to
I've climbed
anybody.
is Barstool Mountain. I don't know.
That's the highest you ever want to climb.
You know, I tell you, it's funny. That Mount Washington, I've climbed twice, 2 times. It was 70 degrees and beautiful on the ground, and both times it was cloudy and foggy. The second time was sleet, rain,
Wow.
everything on top. Couldn't see a damn thing.
You couldn't see anything.
I couldn't see you guys when I was at the top.
Really?
You could,
How long does it take to get to the
you
top
could-
of Mount Washington from the bottom?
Well, I've taken 2 routes. There's a third route up if you're not coming off of one of the other presidential mountains. You know, I don't know. I hike with my wife and daughter. I'm going to come off as being sexist or something. My boys were up way ahead of me, and I was staying. So it's a good couple hours,
Well, that's good.
few hours.
That's great. And what are you doing to build your own business?
So I really have 3. I'm selling and marketing in the areas that I'm focused on, which are, you know, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, and B2B family businesses. So I'm getting out there, and then another way I'm doing it is through affiliated companies and so forth. And then where people are bringing me in, and then the third is referrals. And I'm making referrals to people that are doing operational work and so forth, and then they're doing the same for me for either change management and organizational work or this kind of sales and marketing, all geared towards growth and development.
The best foundation for any business is a good reputation. I know you have one of those. So you're building on some pretty solid ground there. I know that. And,
no,
I've talked to a couple of the people who know you, and they all have really great things to say. So you're a high quality individual that people will call if they have any kind of issues that they want to pursue in your area of expertise. I think that's a great opportunity talking to you today on CEO Chat.
I
Thank
appreciate
you for
the
joining
opportunity.
us today. And I want to thank all of you for joining us on CEO Chat. We'll be back again next, actually in about a half an hour.
Can I lay out how people can contact
Yeah,
you?
absolutely.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I'm sorry.
So
Go
it's
ahead.
4C Consulting, Courageously Curious Consulting and Coaching, and the web address is www.4cconsulting.net. My phone number is 484-800-2203, and you can email me at rhackman@4cconsulting.net. Appreciate
That's
it.
great. Thanks. Thank you for preventing me from stepping on that line, because I know that's very important.
Yeah.
But one other thing too. I know you're based in Pennsylvania, but you can have clients anywhere in the country.
Yeah, my primary focus is the tri-state area for consulting, but yes, I'll travel anywhere nationally or internationally.
And it's
Gladly
not
do
just
it.
consulting, but also business coaching too. So executive leadership consulting is part of what you do.
Yep,
Great.
appreciate it. Thanks so
Pleasure
much.
being here. Thank you.
What a great guest.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us, Robert. Appreciate
Okay.
it. And thanks all of you for joining us on CEO Chat.
Yep. See you in a half hour.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What'd you think?